Hey, this is James with Lot Hill. I'm going to show you how to go through the initial configuration of CashFootprint. You should already have CashFootprint point of sale and the SQL Server database software installed. If you do not, there's a video on YouTube for how to install CashFootprint. I recommend you take a look through that. It is not a next type of installation, so make sure you adhere to the video. If you just click next through the SQL Server installation, you are going to have issues where the CashFootprint software does not find the server. And that's usually a SQL browser service issue that service isn't running because we didn't tell it to run during the installation. So all that aside, this is the how to get started with CashFootprint video. Here we go. First thing I usually go through and check is the employee permissions. If you're upgrading from a previous version that you've demoed or installed, then this is going to have some things we need to check. So click on the manager account or your account, go down to the permissions, and make sure you have all of the permissions needed checked. So with the manager account, we need everything. I'm going to click on edit and select all. Hit save. And that will just make sure that all the features in the software are available to me and I have access to view everything. So now that I have full permission, I'm going to go into the sales tax area. So manage sales tax. And by default, we have local and state tax in here. Everything is set as 0. That just brings up a red flag if you try and add an item to a sale and you're saying, hey, I don't have any tax. And this is why, or partially why I should say. First thing I'm going to do, I have one tax. So I'm going to delete everything here in a minute and just do the one tax. But if you're in Canada or another country that requires 2 taxes like PST and GST, then you can just double click, change the tax to what you need, and put in the percentage. Hit save. Same for this one, and hit save. And it's just a group name. This doesn't show up anywhere, so it's just for you to identify that group. These two will show up on the receipt. So you can see that the Canada tax has a total of 8%. I don't know if that's even close, but I think it's probably close to double. But anyway, so let's go ahead and I'm going to delete these. For a normal U.S. tax, there's typically one. In Minnesota here, it's 7.275. So I'm just going to do sales tax. Since there's only one, it's not a group now. It's just the straight tax itself. This will show up on the receipt. So 7.275. Boom. So on the receipt, I'm going to see sales tax, and it's going to be 7.275%. I think it might be different than that, but go ahead and hit close now that we have our tax set up. And since we're on our tax subject, I'm going to go to Tools, Options, and I'm going to set the default tax. Right here, by default, the system is set to non-taxable. It's a red flag basically when you try and rank up your items, like I said. So we want to make sure that the default tax is set to sales tax. That will be our percentage that we decided. In my case, it's 7.275. Another thing I check for is under the accepted payment types. I want to make sure if I want gift cards, check that option. If you want any of the others, make sure they're checked. If you want to allow cash refunds, typically a refund is given in the form that it was initially accepted. So if I pay with a credit card, I should be expecting a credit card refund. But in some cases, people allow cash no matter what. So you can check that option, and then when you do a refund, you'll be able to select cash as the refund option or refund payment method. One of the other things here is the timeout. After 15 minutes, by default, the system, CashFootprint, will bring up the login screen. That's just a security feature. If the manager is logged in and they walk away without locking the software, then the system itself will time out and say, hey, you've got to log back in, so I know it's who's going to be using the system. By default, it's 15. If you're a single person business, just go ahead and change it to never. Then it won't time out on you. If you want to log in without using a password, you can do that too. Just check that box. That will turn off that feature so you can log in with just your username. You are still required to log in, but you can do it without a password. So if you have a biometric fingerprint scanner or a credit card swipe, you could hook that up and use it with this software as well. Under the Terminal tab, the starting cash drawer amount, Make sure you enter your amount. So usually people will do like a $200. So we'll put 200 in here. That way, when you do your cash drawer reconciliation at the end of the day, you're counting down to 200, and whatever's left over will match the report, and you should be in good shape. If you want to put your own logo instead of using the CashFootprint logo, you want to put your own business logo in there, you can do that. You can change the colors of the application. And let's see, here's the check for updates. Make sure that's checked if you want the system, if you have an internet connection, if you want the system to go out and touch our Lot Hill server and see if there's any updates available. If there are, CashFootprint will notify you, and hey, there's an update available. Do you want to install it now? The caveat to that is make sure you do all of the terminals that are connected to the system, or you could run into issues with incompatibilities between versions. So right now I'm on version 150. You can see that in the lower right hand corner. Professional 150. I need to make sure all my terminals are on 150. Okay. Whether it's standard or professional, the software is the same. The activation code controls which edition you're using. So as long as you're on 150, you're in good shape. If you're using 150, of course. So 200, and you can have the system ask you for starting amount if you want, but I recommend just fixing it at a certain amount. That way you know every time you count down, you know what you're counting down to. Marketing, this is where you can link Twitter to CashFootprint for sending out tweets for events or specials or anything you have going on at your store that you want to notify your followers of. You can use the tweet button right here on the main screen. Click that and it'll bring up a little box where you can type in your tweet, hit send, and it'll go out to your Twitter account. And also, if you have Facebook linked to Twitter, then when you send out a tweet, it will also update on your Facebook page. That's a good thing to have. That's how we do it here at Lot Hill as well. So our Twitter feed and our Facebook timeline are pretty much in sync. So that's just the easy way to do it. Merchant account. This is where you would tie in the Assure software. You would need to have a specific code to do that. And when you decide to go with our merchant processing, then we would supply that code for you. There's no unlock fee for that. Give us a call at 855-LOT-HILL or product.support@lothill.com, and we can go over rates and get the merchant application out to you. If you currently have a merchant account, then you can still use that. Leave the processor as none. You will have to bounce back and forth from your external card machine or Square or whatever you use in CashFootprint. So you'll bring up a sale, you go to process it, then you'll go over to your card machine, process the card, make sure it's approved, and then come back to CashFootprint and hit OK and process, finish the sale. When it's all integrated, there's no bouncing back and forth. That's where this processor integration with signature processing comes into play. We've been with them for 10 years. They offer 24/7 free support, free setup. So the only thing that you're charged is for your monthly fees and transaction fees. So if you have a current account with another provider, then I recommend you get us your statement. We can do some analysis to, likely meet or beat that rate and get you integrated. That way, just the convenience factor, it's really a good product to have integrated. It just speeds up the lines tremendously. So on to the next tab, data source. This is the location of your server and your database. So if you're adding additional terminals, keep that in mind. That's where you would find that information. If you're linking customer photos, there's the path to those photos. Again, if you have multiple terminals, you're going to want to make sure that that path is the same from any location on your network. I recommend using a mapped drive. Even if it's on a local machine, map it. That way the drive letter is the same, and you'll be in good shape with all that. If you're adding new terminals and you run out of licenses and you don't want to purchase anymore, or if you've renamed a computer, then you're going to want to make sure you come in here and remove the old one, highlight, click remove, and that will open up a license for a new machine. Receipt hardware. On the header section, this is where you can put any information in here you like. Company information, email address, what have you. And the footer, same thing. You can put whatever you want in there. It'll show up at the bottom of the receipt. Typical things are warranty information, refunds, store notes, anything like that. If you have a special going on, you can make sure it's always on all the receipts. You can put that special right at the top. You can put it at the bottom, however you want to do it. You can show customer information on the receipts as well if you choose to. These are off by default. It's only for the professional version, obviously. Let's see, receipt printer, cash drawer, pull display, and barcode scanner. These are all hardware configurations. You would need to have the Windows driver installed for the printer. You can do that with either a OPOS driver or just a generic driver that comes with your printer. You can contact your manufacturer for that information, get all that stuff set up. And once you get the printer installed, you'll be able to select it from this drop down here. And once, I'll just select something here, I'll do zebra. And once you select the printer, you can come in and select the font that you want to use and how big you want the letters to be. A few other options here as well. When you get it all configured the way you want, you can click test. Same for the cash drawer. Select the printer that the cash drawer is attached to, or if you're going directly to a printer, then typically you would have a Windows printer. In our case, you would have a Windows printer set up on the specific port for that drawer, if it's a USB drawer. You can also use a prolific driver to connect a virtual COM port as well if you wanted to do that. A little bit technical there, I know. Let's see, so cash drawer, typically just select the printer that you have your receipt printer installed on, and it will send the signal to that printer, which will then pop the drawer from the printer. That's typically how point of sale hardware works. The drawer is connected to the printer, and it's connected through like a phone-like cable. It's not a phone cable, but it's similar. Pull display, same thing here. Select the port that your pull display is on, hit test. Should see some numbers on that thing. You can select a different emulation for the pull display. When you start up the pull display, you should be able to see what emulation it is and choose that appropriately. Barcode scanners usually plug and play, nothing to configure here unless you're using random weight barcodes, which are like a deli. They weigh the meat and you get a specific barcode that has the item number and the price or weight encoded in the barcode itself. So that's where you would set that up. Let's go to the reporting tab. Here's your default report printer. Different than your Windows default printer. So if you have multiple printers installed, you can select which one you want to use for your reports. It will always go to that printer. You can print a PDF if you wanted to. Totally up to you how you want to print it, but here I have a Brother printer installed and I've got specific reports set up to print to that. You can also export these reports. They will go to PDF format and go to the export destination folder located below. This is also in the professional version only. And those PDFs can also be emailed. Email settings for that are located on the email tab. You can use Gmail if you want to. A lot of people are doing that these days. Businessname@gmail.com. Put in your name, put in the email address, smtp.gmail.com. 587 is the port. You'll need to check that the connection is encrypted and that it requires secure authentication. So you need to use your Gmail email address and password to access that server. This is the typical setup for Gmail. So if you have a Gmail account, take a good look because that's how you're going to set it up. You'll use these email settings will be used for emailing reports, for emailing receipt information. So after you process a sale, you have the option to send an email receipt versus printing a receipt. And there is a bulk email feature available for emailing your customers. All those will use this information as the return address. The add-ons tab has open save transactions and time clock and loyalty points. If you're looking at using any of these, check those boxes and hit OK. That's it for the initial configuration of CashFootprint. If you have any questions, you can give us a call at 855-LOT-HILL or email us at product.support@lothill.com.